Joining me today is Dan Bernal out of Massachusetts. Out of an audience of 250,000 agents nationwide, Dan has been selected as this month's Broker Agent of the Month for the state of Massachusetts. And Dan, I so enjoyed our initial interview. You're a decorated real estate professional, and I'm eager for the people that watch us to get a chance to know you. But congratulations on the recognition. It's an honor to be here and to recognize you today.
It's an honor to be recognized. It's an honor to even be considered. I really appreciate it. You guys have been in this, almost as twice as long as I have. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, you've earned it. You're a great guy, and you're the perfect candidate. I thought, in an effort to allow people that watch this to have a sense for who you are and why you've had the success you've had, I thought maybe we'd explore a couple questions together.
That sounds great. Let's do it.
Talk to me about how Dan got started in this business. Like, what does that journey look like for you? And why is this the business that you've kind of found a home?
So I had a very odd way of getting into the business, which was we were having our first child, and we were looking for a home. And what happened was we ended up having a very unpleasant real estate experience that left us. We gave up our apartment and ended up homeless with a pregnant wife and a real estate agent who wouldn't answer the phone. And wow. I literally got my license for the purpose of representing us because I didn't trust anybody anymore, and we needed a place to live. And it just kind of snowballed from there. So it started out of adversity, but turned into, my parents had been passive real estate investors my whole childhood. So I sort of knew more than I knew about the business just from having been around, taking down walls when my dad was buying foreclosed properties in the 80s and things like that. But I never thought of it as a career. And once I represented us in looking for a home, it turned into one.
Yeah. You've been on HCTV, like you've done some things, right? You've had some visibility, you've had some success.
Yeah, we did that twice.
Yeah. What a journey, right? When you do this, like you said, out of adversity, sort of in defense of the little blossoming family you have. And now you're serving, thousands of people up there in the Northeast and helping them make sure that they get good representation. And I think it's a fascinating way to start, Dan. A lot of people get into this business and don't make it, right? Up to 9 out of 10 people don't finish their second year. And so
absolutely,
you kind of found your way into this business and have had a lot of success. And I think that kind of speaks to why you're here today. And I think it's awesome.
I've never really let go of things. That's either a blessing or a curse, but I definitely, once I dig my teeth into something, I'm going to stick with it. And with this, it's a long, slow snowball. So you got to be patient. But at the same time, you have to just keep going. And you're right. People, like, I got into it literally 2006, 2016 when 2006. When the crash happened, when we were heading right into the worst, recession since the Great Depression. And I guess it benefited me that my father used to buy foreclosed properties back in the 80s. So like the idea of distressed property and kind of selling beat up stuff made sense to me. But a lot of basically the entire industry vacated at that point. Like everybody got out of it and said, there's no money to be made here. And I was like, sure there is. You sell $100,000 properties, it's still $1 million as opposed to selling $1 million property. And that's what I did. I sold dozens and dozens of those a year to investors. And so I got through that as literally, that was my trial by fire starting the business. And from there, I realized that it's like those stockbrokers who tell you, we can make you money whether the market's going up or going down. I feel the same way. In real estate, there's money to be made going up or going down, whether you're, this crazy market that we're in right now where there's nothing but business and everyone wants to be a real estate agent. It's all going to turn around again. There's going to be a foreclosure apocalypse once the government stops propping people up from all their losses in the last few years. And it's going to go down. It'll happen over and over again over 5 years, 10 years, it always goes up and down. There's money to be made in every version of that. You just have to stick with it and really, never give up. And that's always been, I have kids to feed, so.
Right. Yeah, it's sort of your MO, right?
Yeah, that's my MO.
So 15 years, right? It's a long journey that you've been on, and like I don't think that should be minimized. Like most people don't don't get to that point in this business. What do you enjoy the most about it? What have you learned about the business? And, you know, if you went back 15 years ago and knowing what you know now, and we were getting into the business, how would you advise yourself? Like, what is it that kind of keeps you moving besides the inspiration that is family? But obviously it's a belly to belly community facing job.
It is. And that's probably what I enjoy the most about it. So for 10 years out of college, I ran a book publishing office, and I saw the same people day in and day out in a little box. And when I got there, it was dark. And when I left, it was dark. And it was just, there was no variety to it. But at the same time, I was a touring musician, and I still do some of that. And the touring musician side, every night you met someone new. You met, not someone, you met a whole room full of people that were new. You met other bands, you met your crowds, you went to different towns, you got to see the landscape that you lived in, and it was very exciting. And I figured out how to merge those two lives, where I'm sitting here in an office right now in my home, but I spend most of my time on the road. According to my accountant, I do 27,000 miles a year in my car. I'm
Wow.
all over the place. And I love that, because I know what the entire northeast quarter of Massachusetts and most of southern New Hampshire looks like. And I mean, I really know, like, I choose where I get my groceries based on where I have showings on a given day, because I know all the best fruit stands and all the best butchers and all. Because I get to travel all that distance, and every single deal is I get to join a family for some period of time. I get to be part of their lives. I get to know them. And that to me reminds me of the good old touring days, when, you know, you jump in and you're playing with another band, and you get to know kind of who those guys are. And you'll see them again in 2 months in New Hampshire, and you'll see them again in 2 months in Maryland. And like, that was really exciting. And it's the same thing. People either move on from their existing home or start a family in a new home. And I couldn't be more happy with that.
We had a
little hiccup there.
Dan, 15 years in this business. That's quite an accomplishment, especially based on how you got started, and now you're decorated and you've done some really cool things. You know, if you were to go back 15 years ago, knowing what you know now, and you were to advise yourself on what you're going to experience, what is it that you find most rewarding about this business?
The most rewarding part is that there's no stagnation to it. Like, you're constantly meeting new people, sort of getting involved in their lives and helping them make a very big transition, which was, you know, when I first got into the business, for us, went incredibly poorly. And I like to completely change that experience for them. I want them to, if they're either selling a home and moving on to something else, or if they're buying their first home and potentially starting a family. I can't tell you how many of my clients I've seen have kids, you know, 1, 2, 3. And in the time I've been in this, I've had 3. So I'm one of them. The reality is, you get to be a part of a huge transition in people's lives and make it easier and make it comfortable and make it successful. And having been through that myself, I find that incredibly rewarding, and it keeps changing. So it's not the same people every time. It's, you know, literally every single time you figure out a new situation, you understand their family, you get to know them for several months or years. And in many cases, it's many years that I've worked with people. And I just like making this huge transition for people work, as opposed to what happened to us, which did not work.
Yeah, and your energy, it's sincere and it's high. Like, I enjoy the energy exchange we're having, and no doubt that's what people resonate with and appreciate about you, right? Is this natural desire?
It's absolutely legitimate. I'm not putting on airs. Like, I really do care about. I remember I did one deal with a family. So I have one taboo in all of life, which is I will never look at what I'm going to make on any particular transaction, because I don't want it to affect anything that's going to happen. I did a deal once with a family who I've done several more deals with over the years, but the first one, as always, I had no idea what I was going to make. I made nothing. I think I made $200. I worked with them for something like 8 months, and that doesn't matter. Like, they were great people, and they needed to move into a thing, and I needed to help them. And the context is the most important thing. The payout, if you do this long enough, the payout's there. So to me, it's all about getting to know the people, doing helping them have this smooth transition. And then you do enough of them, the money comes.
Yeah. Yeah. I've interviewed thousands of agents, and that's true across all agents that have found a lot of success in this business.
That have found success, yes. Not among all agents, but among all agents who find success.
Well, the client comes first. And if you can do that, and you have sort of a long-term view of this business, it has a way of rewarding you and paying you back for being good
Absolutely.
at this.
And it's always about the client. The term agency means something, which is you are representing someone else's interests. So your interests will come, but you are representing someone else, and you have to take that very seriously.
Yeah, no doubt. Talk to me about where you live. Like, there are lots of markets in the US. I mean, it's an incredibly competitive industry, right? Real estate in general, but why is it great to be in this business in Massachusetts?
Well, I'll be even more specific than that. So because I started in real estate 15 years ago and I was living in a different part of Massachusetts. Massachusetts is very big. I'm in the northeast quarter of Massachusetts, which is unto itself very big. But when I started, I was further south, just outside of Boston. And I still have clients that are left over from that area and from sort of everything that moved me slowly up here. But I was working in maybe 25 cities regularly. Because Massachusetts has a lot of little towns. They're not suburbs. They're little, very old towns that have their own character. And so I had the benefit of experiencing all of them individually. And so when we finally moved to Salem, where we are now, I really had a good sense of kind of a lot of the area here and all the different options. And this is what we absolutely fell in love with. Salem is an incredible it's one of the oldest cities in the country, but it's also just an incredible culture unto itself. It's sort of like the Brooklyn of the North Shore. It's a foodie culture. You're sitting on the ocean. You have a beautiful harbor. Everyone thinks of it as the Halloween capital of the world, but that's the one part of it I don't pay attention to is the rest of it. So the North Shore, I'm a huge fan. And I say that from great experience. I've been here a long time. I've done a lot of work here. Oh, hey, there's one of my kids. Your mother took it. Sorry. Yeah. It's right there. Sorry about that.
All good.
We can start that over if you need to.
Man, it's real life.
It's real life, man.
Yeah. I actually kind of like it. So you're wrapping up about Salem, right?
Yeah. So it's we're in a very old part of the country that's also very modern and very progressive. And real estate values here. I'm not in the $1 million listing category. There's some of that around the North Shore. I deal with a lot of people who are like myself. They're middle class. They're working people. It's expensive real estate around here, but it's doable if you know someone like me who can jump you through the hoops and show you how to make it happen. And that's what we did with my family, and it works very well. It's a great community here, and I literally, if I won the lottery, I would just buy a bigger house in Salem, without question. And we've actually talked about that in my family, and everyone agrees.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. I've not spent any time up in the Northeast. And I went to New York City and I've done some of the big touristy stuff, but up there in Massachusetts and further up in the Northeast, I've not been at all, and I would love to go. And you make it sound like a really desirable place to be.
It really is. I was thinking about leaving Massachusetts when I lived in Boston, because Boston is, all the rumors about the horrendous traffic and people being hostile. It's all true, and it's got a lot of character and a lot of charm, but it's a very tense place, and that didn't appeal to me. But as soon as I discovered the North Shore, and literally I discovered it through work, through real estate, through selling houses up here, I started to realize there's a whole different, the old gorgeous lighthouse and boats on the water and the whole all the New Englandy stuff that you see in postcards is real. And we moved to it. I relocated my entire family to it because it's real and it's right here and we're in the middle of it. And I would, regardless of the winters and all the other stuff, I would never leave. I love it to pieces.
Yeah, super cool. So one last question. We've had sort of unprecedented market conditions. You were in an unprecedented environment when you got started, right? We had this major crash. Then we have you know, 10 or 12 years of relative prosperity. The business is relatively level, markets are relatively strong.
Yep.
And then, you know, COVID happens and a mixture of things. And now we have this incredibly low inventory, and it's just a really unique time to be in real estate. If you were to offer a single piece of advice to a peer of yours in this business, a fellow real estate professional, what would you offer?
Don't get cocky. Yes, there's a ton of demand right now, and you can go get your real estate license, as everybody has. I mean, you could trip and fall into a real estate agent anywhere around here. That doesn't mean they're going to stick around. And the reason why is because market condition. I've seen this happen a number of times already in my career. So it's no surprise, and it's going to happen again, is that when the market gets strong, a bunch of people dive into it. When the market gets, you know, more difficult, people flee and go into doing something else. The reality is right now, there's so much demand. So many people are leaving the city because they don't have to go to the office anymore. So they're coming to places like the North Shore, where I am, because they can get a lot more for their money, and they can, you know, they'll buy a bigger place and set up a home office like I'm sitting in right now. And so there's a lot of, it's very sexy to be in real estate right now. That's going to change. And you got to get over that and understand that there's a career to be made, and there's people to be helped. More than anything, there's people to be helped, whether the market's strong or not strong. In our area, it's always going up. The question is how steep the vector is. So even during the recession, values still go up around here. The question is how steep they're going to go up, and what kind of, you know, how many people are coming through the door when you have a listing? How many people are you competing against when you're representing a buyer? So for many years, I represented buyers mostly because there was because that's really where the market was. Now inventory is obviously, you know, at an all-time low sort of around here. So it's more helpful to represent sellers, but I gotta be honest, my heart's still with buyers, because I know they're looking for a home, and I know what's coming ahead of that. Like it's very anxious. I'm dealing with some people I have to meet them later this morning. They have a 2-year-old. They're buying their first place. It's right near where I went to college. And I love the idea. They're so excited. They text me all hours of the day and late at night. They're like, oh my God, what are we gonna do about the painters? And what are we gonna do about we need to get floors done. And I love it. I love their mania, because I know what's gonna happen next. They're gonna get into that place, and they're gonna be so freaking psyched, and they're gonna be so happy. And in 5 years, they're gonna have equity they've never had before. Because of the nature of this market, which is it goes up and goes up and goes up. So what I would tell people is, don't get cocky. It's great if you have some successes now, but take the successes that aren't necessarily that profitable or aren't necessarily that exciting when the market's down, because it's going to go up and down and up and down. Learn to surf the wave, because the wave's always coming, and it's always going to go up and go down. And if you learn to be a good surfer, you're going to do fine, but you're also going to help a lot of people. And that's the love in it.
Great advice. It's easy to see why you've had some success in this business.
Thank you.
It's a privilege for me to get to know you a little bit down here, just outside Atlanta, right? This role I have gives me opportunity to meet people all over the country. And I'm excited to find people like you to be able to highlight and showcase. This industry has lots of really great people in it. And look, congratulations again on the recognition.
Thank you.
Thank you again for being a part of this with me. And I wish you nothing but huge success the rest of the way, Dan.
Likewise, much appreciated. I really appreciate your time.